Where Galyna Saltkovska and Steven McBee stand today. Galyna Saltkovska is sharing a major update on where she stands with Steven McBee Sr. today. Viewers have watched Galina throughout the McBee dynasty, Real American Cowboy Seasons 1 and 2, performing her role as the CFO of McBee Farm and Cattle Co., and dealing with the fallout from her relationship with Steven Sr., who she dated in Season 1. But after Steven Sr. started dating Galina's good friend, Masha, in Season 2, Galina struggled to come to terms with their new dynamic. Galina recently spoke with Briefing on Bravo, where she provided some insight into her relationship with Steven Sr. and his ex-wife, Christy McBee, now. "I definitely talked to Christy a lot," she told the publication. "Talk to Steven, talk to Steve every day. We obviously have businesses, and I developed a friendship with Christy, for which I'm super grateful," she continued. "Definitely always been a fan of Steven, kind of growing on the friendship with Steven." Below, find out more about Galina and Steven Sr.'s relationship. How did Galyna Saltkovska meet Steven McBee Sr.? Christy recalled how Steven Sr. and Galina first met during the McBee Dynasty Season 2, Episode 6. She stated that Galina had a little side cleaning business, and Steven Sr. hired her to clean their home. Steven Sr. eventually brought Galina to work for his other companies before they began their relationship. "Then, I found out everything that developed between them," Christy explained during the episode. "I was blown away, so I filed for divorce." When did Galyna Saltkovska date Steven McBee Sr.? Galina was seeing Steven Sr. during the McBee Dynasty Season 1. Galina told USA Insider in April 2024 that they first started seeing each other romantically once Christy and Steven Sr.'s divorce was finalized. "We started seeing each other, more frequently, and it just was kind of a process because obviously Steve kind of had a complicated situation, and we had already been working together, so it was just a work in progress at all times," she recalled. Steven Sr. told USA Insider in March 2024 that he was upfront with his intentions with Galina while they were dating. "I've been completely transparent with Galina," he said. "She's one of the best humans I've ever met in my life, and I sincerely mean that. I would do anything for her, but I have told her, I don't want to live with you. I don't want to be in a full-time relationship." What is Galyna Saltkovska's role at McBee Farm and Cattle Co.? Galina is the Chief Financial Officer of McBee Farm and Cattle Co. She also has projects that keep her busy, according to USA Insider, like the McBee car washes and a protein snack line. "Galina is truly the most important person in our company," Steven Jr. said during Season 2, Episode 3. In a recent interview with Briefing on Bravo, Steven Jr. added, "Galina does all of the financials, all of the reporting to banks, all of the documentation and accounting. She has, quite honestly, the toughest job in the company and the job that no one wants to do." Galyna Saltkovska reveals where she stands with Christy McBee today. After Galina's confrontation with Christy during the McBee Dynasty Season 2, Episode 6, she told people that they are in a good place today. "I am absolutely grateful I met her, got introduced to her, and that we had those very authentic conversations," she said. Christy also shared an update on their relationship during an exclusive conversation with Briefing on Bravo. "Galina apologized to me, and I'm not bitter with her at all," she said. "I mean, she's gone through enough herself. I don't have any ill will towards her. How could I? I wouldn't ever want to punish her. She's getting punished enough." Galyna Saltkovska shares her thoughts on reuniting with Masha today. But Galina admitted that she is not in a great place with Masha, her former friend, now. "Definitely not that," she told people. "That is not going to happen ever and in any near future." Where Galyna Saltkovska and Steven McBee Sr. stand today. A story of redemption, power, and moving on. Galyna Saltkovska stood at the edge of the McBee Farm property, the sun low over the Missouri hills, casting golden streaks across the rows of cattle and wheat. Dust curled at her boots as the familiar sound of a John Deere engine rumbled somewhere behind her, but her mind was elsewhere, on the journey that brought her here. From housekeeper to CFO, from heartbreak to forgiveness, Galina had built a life full of contradictions and quiet strength. The farmhouse once felt like the setting of her own personal soap opera, full of whispered conversations, late-night texts, and broken trust. But now it was simply her office, her battlefield, and strangely her sanctuary. It had been over a year since the explosive finale of the McBee dynasty, Real American Cowboy Season 2. Fans were left with more questions than answers. Had Galina forgiven Steven Sr.? Was her friendship with Christy McBee real or just TV magic? And what had really happened between her and Masha? The truth was, everything changed, and nothing changed. Spring 2025. The barn boardroom was quiet except for the soft tapping of Galina's fingers on her laptop. She was updating financial projections for the upcoming harvest season, but her thoughts wandered when a familiar voice broke the silence. Still the hardest working person on the farm, Steven Sr. said as he leaned on the doorframe, arms crossed, that signature cowboy smirk still lingering. Galina didn't look up immediately. Still the most casually late to every meeting, she replied, arching an eyebrow as she finally met his gaze. It had taken time, therapy, and a lot of awkward silences to get here, to this place where they could talk without bitterness. When Steven started dating her friend Masha during Season 2, the betrayal had hit Galina harder than she admitted on camera. It wasn't just about romance. It was about respect, boundaries, and how fragile trust can be in a business that's also a family. But she'd made peace with it, eventually. "Steve," she said, softer now, "you know I'm not here to rehash the past. We're good. We work well together. That's enough." He nodded, rubbing his jaw. "I never stopped respecting you. You know that, right?" Galina closed her laptop, leaning back in her chair. "I know. And I don't need an apology every time we talk. Let's just keep doing what we're good at." They did. And that in itself was a quiet miracle. The women behind the farm. If you'd told Galina 2 years ago that Christy McBee would become one of her closest confidants, she would have laughed. Or cried, or both. But life on the ranch has a strange way of bringing people together when they least expect it. Their first few conversations post-fallout were tense, aired with a camera crew watching their every move. But something shifted after the cameras left. Maybe it was Christy's unfiltered honesty. Maybe it was the shared experience of surviving Steven Sr.'s emotional whirlwind. Or maybe, just maybe, it was the mutual respect between two women who'd been underestimated too many times. Now, Galina called Christy at least twice a week, sometimes for business, often for real talk. They laughed about ranch drama, vented about work stress, and even teamed up to launch a new initiative focused on sustainable farming, a project that brought them to speaking panels and business expos across the Midwest. "We're not besties," Christy joked during a briefing on Bravo interview, "but she's the real deal. And after everything, I trust her more than most." Masha. A friendship that won't be revived. Not all stories on the ranch had happy endings. Masha, once Galina's closest confidant, had crossed a line Galina couldn't forgive. It wasn't just about dating Steven Sr., though that betrayal stung deeply. It was about the secrets, the dishonesty, the willingness to sacrifice friendship for a fleeting romance. Galina tried, for a while, to understand, to listen, but every conversation with Masha ended in veiled defensiveness and denial. "I have no hate in my heart," Galina told people in early 2025. "But I also have boundaries now, real ones. That chapter is closed." The business of moving forward. While the McBee family feud continued to stir headlines, Galina turned her focus to what mattered: growth. Under her direction, McBee Farm and Cattle Co. became more than a family-run operation. It became a regional force. She expanded the car wash business, restructured the snack protein line for national distribution, and even consulted for other rural businesses looking to modernize their books and branding. Galina is the backbone, Steven Jr. said during an interview. Honestly, without her, none of this runs. And Galina didn't mind being behind the scenes. That's where she thrived. In spreadsheets, in silence, in strategy. Love had been a battlefield, but numbers? They made sense. Where she stands today. So where do Galyna Saltkovska and Steven McBee Sr. stand now? They're not lovers. They're not enemies. They're business partners with history. Friends with boundaries. Sometimes, late at night, after the ranch has quieted, Steven will call with a question about a land deal or a regulatory form. And sometimes, they'll talk a little longer than necessary about life or the past or what they'd do differently if they could. But there's no going back, and that's okay, because Galina isn't standing behind anyone anymore. She's not standing in the shadow of a failed relationship or between two exes trying to make sense of their pain. She's standing tall, on her own, beside those she trusts, and in front of the legacy she's helped build. The McBee dynasty may be full of dust, drama, and dynasty, but for Galina, it's about dignity, and that's where she stands today.